On this episode of the Open in Indiana podcast, we meet Tanya Hoover, owner and president of Midwest Language Services. Don't miss it. Welcome everyone to the Open in Indiana podcast, where we feature the people, places, and events that make Indiana a great place to live, work, and visit. Today, our guest is Tanya Hoover, owner and president of Midwest Language Services. Tanya, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on today.
Tanya, thank you for joining us. Let's jump right in. So Tanya, let's talk about how you help your customers with Midwest Language Services.
Okay, well, we do that in 3 different ways, but we help our customers connect with clients across cultures and mainly across languages. So we provide language solutions such as English language training, document translation, and website translation, as well as interpreting services, both over the phone and in person.
So this is huge in the days of the virtual meeting. You're saying you can help your customers with real-time translation, so you can technically communicate with anyone in the world, right?
Well, let me define translation, because I think that a lot of, including myself for a time, use translation to mean both interpreting and written work. But actually, translation is only conveying one language in written form to a target language in written form, and then interpreting can be using sign language or spoken language and converting that into a target language.
Oh,
So
wow.
to answer your question, can we interpret in real time? Yes, through the power of the internet, we can have an interpreter available in a conference, so that if you wanted to speak someone in another language, there would be someone on the screen who could interpret that. Now, there are ways to do that simultaneously at the same time you're speaking. The person hears it in the target language, but that's really highly expensive and it's used for very special cases. What we're able to offer is consecutive interpreting, where you would say something in the source language, English, and let's say you're speaking to someone in Japanese, because we have lots of Japanese companies in Indiana, then the person would repeat it. So if something would normally take 15 minutes, you might want to plan for a half hour, because everything is going to be repeated in that target language.
Wow. So Tanya, what is your background and how did you get started?
Okay, well, my background is in education. I was a teacher born and raised in Indiana. My mother was from Japan, and so you could say that I started teaching English since the time I was a child. And so when I went to Purdue, I studied to be an elementary school teacher, did that off and on for 8 years, thinking I really like teaching, but there's something about it that I wish were different. So I lived in Guam for a time and taught overseas, and English was the first language there, but it was my start in elementary school teaching. Then I came back to the States, worked both in Indianapolis for an inner city Catholic school and also down in Lexington, Kentucky at a public school where a third of my students spoke Spanish. So although it was a very valuable experience to me, what I really enjoyed doing was teaching English to adult learners. So I started doing that when I lived in Kentucky for a company that helped business executives from Japan who were working for the Toyota plant down there. And I thought, gosh, if I could do this would be fantastic. So after I moved back to Indiana, I decided to do just that. I was working 3 different jobs just to make this dream happen. And slowly but surely over time, through a lot of word of mouth advertising, I got more and more students to tutor English. So I'm kind of going on and on here, but I started teaching English and I haven't looked back. I've really enjoyed it, and it's just evolved into people saying, you know, are you able to translate documents? Well, now we have a pool of people who are able to do that. Are you able to provide us with an interpreter? Now we have a pool of people to do that as well.
And so Tanya, how many different languages are you able to translate and help your clients communicate in?
It's easier for me to answer the question of how many languages we're able to interpret. We can interpret over 200 languages over the phone. So if, let's say, you had somebody in the same room with you pre-COVID or post-COVID times, and to speak with them in a different language, you could call the toll-free number on your cell phone or other device and then say, I need an interpreter who speaks Spanish. And then within about 13 seconds or so, that interpreter would get on the line, and then you would just start talking. And you would have to be sure to pause to allow time for the interpreter to repeat what you said in the target language and for the other person to say what they need to say. But you can do that both in person with that same person in the room, or you can do what's called a third-party dial-out and call someone to remind them of an appointment or to check and see how they're doing after an appointment. And in that case, you would dial the toll-free number, say, I need a third-party dial-out, and then the operator would connect you. As far as written translation work, I don't know the exact number. We do translations from a lot of other languages into English, and from from English into a lot of other languages.
Wow. And so, Tanya, how important is it to be able to, for example, put your sales material out in different languages here in Indiana?
I would say extremely important if you're wanting to really grow your company. I mean, because although it's not located along the coast, the demographic has really changed here. So even just to reach people within Indiana who are in your neighborhood, in your city, in your state, it's important. We have a huge refugee population from Burma who speak Burmese, Hakka Chin, Falam Chin, Mizo Chin, etc. We have a huge group of people who are from Africa, whose native languages are French and Arabic. We have over 300 Japanese companies in the state of Indiana, and those people tend to be of a middle to higher income bracket and have a lot of purchasing power. So that's an opportunity there to get your services or your products to them. And then we have a large Indian population as well, who speak Punjabi and Urdu, among other languages.
Wow. And so, Tanya, inside of each language, there could be several different dialects, correct?
So in some cases, people will say, okay, well, we would like this document to be translated into French. And we have to be sure that we know, okay, is your target audience people from France, people from Northern Africa, people who speak French Canadian? Likewise, there are different versions of English. There's English and then there's American English. So we really need to find out what our clients need so that we can be sure to localize the translation into the target language properly. The best translations are the ones that you don't even realize they are a translation because they're perfectly fluent.
Wow. And so, Tanya, what do you wish you knew as a new business owner?
Oh gosh, so many things, but the thing that stands out the most is that I should have remembered that even McDonald's and Coca-Cola can to advertise despite their size. And so how much more true is it that smaller companies need to continue to advertise as well? I think that at the beginning, I relied a lot on word of mouth advertising because it worked great for me. And I find it to be the best form of advertising, and it's free. However, I think that my business could have grown much sooner, and I would be able to be in a different place in my business and to a different stage where I'm doing more delegating and less of the work myself at a sooner point in my career. So that's my best advice. I would say if you're a new company just starting, or if you've even been around for a while, invest more money in marketing and advertising.
Awesome. And Tanya, you have coming up here in about a week, you're going to be the speaker at our Monday Open in Indiana on Zoom. to share intercultural communication. Would you mind giving us a couple of points preview on what you will be talking about?
Yes, I would say that I'll talk a little bit about what you should look for when you're working with a translator, and also what it takes to be an interpreter, among other things.
Awesome. And Tanya, how can our listeners get in touch with you if they want to learn more?
Well, first of all, I would recommend visiting our website at www.midwestlanguageservices.com. And if you have any questions, there's a request form on there to submit a request for an interpreter, translator, language classes, etc. You can also email us at info@midwestlanguageservices.com. I know that's a bit long, midwestlanguageservices.com. And then our phone number is area code 317-296-7997.
And Tanya, would you mind giving that phone number again one more time for those who are just grabbing their pen?
Certainly. That number again is Midwest Language Services, area code 317-296-7997.
Awesome. Well, Tanya, thank you so much for being our guest today. And to everyone watching and listening, thank you for catching this episode of the Open in Indiana podcast. Catch our next episode soon. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Open in Indiana podcast. If you enjoyed listening, subscribe to us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Music, iHeartRadio, or on our website, openindiana.com/OII podcast. Thanks for listening.